Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video this week. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about a mini-series that showed up on Hulu and FX, the streaming services. You might have heard of it. It's caused a little bit of a splash. It's called Shogun. So, yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I am fully endorsing this miniseries. Now, I think you should watch it if you haven't already. I think you will enjoy it. I think you will be entertained. And that's the most important thing is that to understand is that if you watch this, that's the goal, to be entertained with a drama. So while I do very much, if you haven't seen it yet, very much think you should watch this current iteration of Shogun, there's some things you need to know. Particularly if you are a person that is a history nerd, right? Maybe you have a degree in it. Maybe you live in Japan, and or maybe you're a Japanophile. Whatever it is that gives you more knowledge than the average American about Japan. One of the things that you're going to come across is that a lot of stuff is oversimplified, and there's a reason for that. So you just have to accept the fact that there's going to be topics and cultural things that are going to be like explained in less than 5 seconds, and that is for the audience so that they can move forward and understand why that's important. We know that there's a lot more context to that thing, whatever it may be, but we just have to accept the fact that we need to move the story forward. And the reason for that is that Shogun, the book that this is all coming from, is written by James Clavell. And Clavell is obviously a Western author. He wrote Shogun for a Western audience, okay? When the broadcast network miniseries came out in 1980, starring Richard Chamberlain, same thing, it's based off the book, is made for a Western audience. If you ever happen to see the 1980s stuff, then you kind of know what the production values are. Usually the samurai are dressed up in like red plastic armor, and they're heavily made up. And when you look at the credits, it's mostly English, British, Americans doing the production with Japanese consultants. So that's what you're going to see in the older stuff. Oh, by the way, I have seen that miniseries, and I have read the book, but it's been a hot minute since I've watched or read either. So with this new iteration, however, of Shogun, it's flip-flopped almost. It's still based on the novel by James Clavell. As a matter of fact, Clavell's estate is involved with the production of this. But what you are going to see is Japanese, not as consultants, but actual producers, actors, stagehands, the whole 9 yards. So it's no longer a consulting gig, they're in it. So you're going to get a lot of nice like cultural things. Even though they're going to be oversimplified, there's interesting views, interesting concepts, and even sometimes they don't explain things, but it's just interesting to look at. And like I said, the production values are much higher. It is head and shoulders above the 1980 version with Richard Chamberlain. It is a joy to watch, actually. And for those of you who are kind of history nerds, whatever, that's another thing that you're going to have to get over. So the way that James Clavell wrote the story, and the way that the series goes, even in this current iteration, it is a Japan that could have been. So they don't really refer to the Sengoku period. They don't really say Warring States periods. They don't use the term Sengoku. They often just say the awful Civil War, right? And if you know your Japanese history, it was a civil war that ushered in the Sengoku, the Warring States period. But they don't really talk about that. They just say it was this really horrible civil war that everybody was involved in, and a lot of people died. Yes, but that's about as far as it goes. And instead of an actual Tokugawa shogunate being created or in the midst of being created, they're talking about that there's a 5-panel regency that was set up after the Teiko died. So the Teiko is an actual position, and it's kind of a regent position. So if, like, for example, if you had a Japanese emperor who was way too young, like they were just a baby, you would say, okay, this guy's going to head up the house until, you know, the baby is old enough, usually age 16, to ascend the throne, and then he takes a step back. So that is an actual title, that is an actual position, and it has occurred during Japanese history. In this instance, what they're saying is that they're not even really mentioning the emperor per se right now. They're also saying that the shogun is not a consistent thing. It's like happens every now and again. So they're using the old term shogun in the old definition, which is a temporary position where the emperor says, okay, we got a lot of stuff going on, and I need to task you to take care of a lot of it, and just, you know, be basically a benevolent military dictator for the next 5 years. Okay. So that's the way that they're looking at it. The Taiko, the regent, dies, and his son is too young to take on the mantle of responsibility. The kid, I think, is like 10 or 11 in the series. And so the Taiko dies, and he sets up a council of regents. And it's basically the 5 most powerful families in Japan at that time. This is fictional, by the way. This is all fictional. So, you know, the names are different. And are the house that we identify with are the Minawaras. And apparently the reason why they're distrusted is because in the past they have always been tasked to be the shogun, and so they have wielded great power in the past. And the bad guys, which are the other 4 members of the Regency Council, don't like him, and they want to do away with him. So this is all, you know, palace intrigue, if you will. So again, this is all fictional, you know, but when you watch it and you know a little bit of Japanese history, you go, okay, you know what, this could have happened. Like this could legitimately be plausible to have happened. So you don't have to suspend your disbelief by that much. So again, you don't really hear the word emperor. You don't really hear imperial. You don't really hear, you know, who the shogun is, because in the time that this takes place, which is 1600, there is a shogun in real life, in real Japan, history Japan, but they were really weak, and they were centered in Kyoto with the imperial family. They don't talk about the imperial family that much at all, and so we don't really talk about them here. Again, they don't talk about the fact that the Sengoku Warring States period existed. They just call it the Civil War. And now we're into this point where the Regency basically wants to take control and be the rulers of Japan. And, you know, they want to kill the kid eventually. That's not a shocker. But they have to do it the right way, because you can't just go in and walk in and just go be stabbing and do the thing. You actually have to create pretext for it. And their big fear, of course, is the Minawaras, who have always been the shoguns, and the people have always risen with the shogun. There you go. So, yeah, very fictional. So you're going to have to get past the history of the alternate history, if you will, of Japan in James Clavell's little world building. So if you can get past that, you're going to enjoy this. The stories, the 2 big characters, Sanada, which is the head of the Minawara clan that had been shoguns in the past. He's kind of our Japanese hero equivalent, and he is very, 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 very loosely based on Tokugawa Ieyasu. Not exactly a compliment, but that's what. But when James Clavell was writing this in 1975, he didn't really realize that, and that's kind of what he took from history to create this character. Blackthorn, who's the Englishman who gets washed ashore in Japan, he is loosely based on, I think his name was William Adams, who was a British sailor who did wash up on Japanese shores, found service under Tokugawa, under Ieyasu, and when Ieyasu became the shogunate, Tokugawa Ieyasu, he made Adams a samurai, an actual samurai. That is real life. Blackthorn is based very, 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 very loosely based on that person. So yeah. So if you can get past those things, then you really should be able to enjoy the show. Because again, they really do a good job in showing how things work, actually. Like, how does a village work? How does a city work? How does, like, one of the things that they talk about in there is that, you know, Blackthorn is just regards the Japanese as savages. I think they're savages. And, you know, other Europeans are going, yeah, wait until you see Osaka and then talk to me about whether or not you still think they're savages. And they have this beautiful harbor shot, it's CGI'd harbor shot, where the galley comes in and he sees Osaka and he realizes, oh crap, this is an actual city like London. So, you know, there's those kinds of things going on, a clash between cultures. What Clavell did, and they do a very good job in this, and they didn't really do a good job in the 1980s version, is talking about the differences between Protestants and Catholics and how they're working against each other. You have Portuguese priests who are interpreters who are like really trying to screw Blackthorn over and, like, you know, miscommunicate things, you know, because, you know, most of the Japanese don't speak these European languages, and so they don't know. And they're actually unaware that there's a war going on between Protestants and Catholics at this time. So it does a good job of portraying that and talking about that. Another big thing that you're going to have to get past in terms of the show is the fact that there is no real isolationist policy where Europeans are stuck in one particular location like Dejima. They have actual limited ability to roam Japan. I mean, they have to get permission, but they can, it's not like once a year. They can go as long as they can get permission. They have to be able to provide the paperwork at their proper checkpoints, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, you have to get past that. And they talk a lot about the Christians in Japan and how that is something of an issue. Now, this is kind of interesting because Hideyoshi Toyotomi was fine with Christians in Japan until he realized he needed to not be so they can consolidate his power. That's happened in real life. Here in this series, Japanese are considered Christians. They're kind of second-class citizens, but no one's being executed because they're Christians, right? You know, it's not like they're, you know, what has happened in history where they rounded them up and started abusing them, causing a rebellion that actually happened. We don't see that right now going into in Japan, in Clavell's Japan. It's more along the lines of Christians aligning themselves with the Portuguese, Japanese Christians. So that's really the issue. So it's not like a rebellion against, oh, you're being oppressing us. No, that's not kind of what's going on here. So yeah, so if you watch this, keep those things in mind. And if you can get past that, you're going to enjoy an interesting story. There's a lot of Hey It's That Guy actors, Japanese live action actors, and they do an outstanding job. It's just so believable and just so in the story that they're having to work in. I would also encourage you, just in case you're wondering, yes, if you can find the 1980 miniseries, watch that and laugh, because this version of Shogun is far, far superior. Even the opening credits are just really interesting. It's a Portuguese man of war sailing through a rock garden. That's the best way I can explain it. Watch it and enjoy that. So yeah, should you watch Shogun, the most current version of this? And my answer is yes. You just have to get past a few things. Just understand that this is what this is. It's a fictional story. It's very loosely based on some stuff, but you're going to get some really amazing views. You're going to get some really good representation of daily life in Japan and how things work and how things can be difficult. And I'll just leave it at that. So watch it and let me know what you think about it down below. All right, that's going to be it for this week. So yes, check out Shogun. It's worth your time, I think. Just sit back and enjoy it. If you just take that kind of view of it, of just, hey, I just want to be entertained, then you should be successful in doing that as you watch it. Again, it's going to be on, I believe, Hulu, FX on Hulu, and FX itself, streaming services. So if you have access to those streaming services, you should be able to find it quite easily. So yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think down below. And speaking of checking things out, just a gentle reminder, we actually are doing stuff over on the Anime Archaeology YouTube channel and on Twitch. We'll have all the relevant information down below, and come on by and see us, because we're doing deep dives on the first 3 episodes of various anime series that we're looking at, and like we're doing pre-recorded, but the chat is live. So if you have a Twitch account, you'll be able to get on there and be able to be in the chat. You can also do that, I think, on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it is there. And but yeah, come by, check it out. Again, I'll have the links down below, and hope to see you there. Okay, guys, take it easy. Be healthy. Love you guys, and I will see you next time. And as always, watch more anime.